What's good, gamers? I've been getting a lot of questions regarding Mage in Tarisland, such as what's the best spec, and with Tarisland global launch just a couple days away, I thought now would be a great time to give you guys a little more information on the class. Now, both Fire and Ice are amazing in their respective situations, with Fire being a bit more consistent DPS and Ice being more build up and burst. Both specs will be great DPS for both PvP and PvE depending on the circumstances. Now, I don't want to make this video too long, so let's just get into the rotations. Now, I've spent the last few days playing the China launch of Tarisland, just to make sure that the builds still felt right, as they did in CBT2 and CBT1, and everything is very similar. We've lost a little bit of CC and Fire, and Ice still feels relatively the same. Starting out with the Fire rotation, this mainly revolves around stacking your heat bomb as much as possible before the explosion hits. Now, my personal preference and how I seem to get the most stacks is pretty simple. Blazing Orb into heat bomb, into instant Skyfire, into 3 Hearing Stings. This will net you around 20 stacks, and I'll give you a quick example real quick. So as you can see, I got about 19 stacks there. Now this will vary based on how many times you actually crit the target, so keep that in mind. Now another rotation you can do, say it's an AoE group, you can do Blazing Orb into Heat Bomb, into Blazing Orb, into Flame Tornado, and that will net you around 40 stacks as long as there's at least 4 enemies on your screen, which is the maximum amount of stacks that you can get. Now for the talents for Fire, now you don't have to exactly copy what I do. This is just what I felt works the best for me and my personal playstyle. You can take screenshots or whatever. I'm not going to go through and talk about what each thing does. You'll be able to pull that up in game and read them yourselves. But this is the typical Fire build that I run. Works really well. You don't have to be scared of the non-instant Skyfires. The cast time really isn't that bad. And most of the time you'll just be using instant Skyfire anyways. Now for Ice, you'll see my talents look practically identical on where I've spec'd down the tree. Again, you can spec a little bit differently. This is just how I prefer to do it. I would highly suggest to stick with Arctic Icicle, and I'll show you the full combo and why. We're going to get a massive explosion of damage numbers on our screen, but it takes a bit of build up, as I said earlier. So Ice revolves around stacking this up to at least 2 or 3 stacks before you can really do your big burst of damage. So you're going to want to Water Spirit as fast as possible. Get your stacks going, and then you can use 1 instant Icicle, which will put you to 2 stacks here, and then continue building up your Ice. Once we get to 2 or 3 stacks of instant Icicle, we can do our massive burst damage. So while the first burst that you saw me do might not have looked like much, you'll see what happens whenever we fully fill this bar. We'll also have a Water Spirit coming up soon, which will make it to where we can instantly get another 2 stacks going. So here's the burst. You do 1 instant cast into a charge, into another instant cast. You get a massive burst of numbers on your screen. You can hit your Water Spirit and immediately start stacking again. Whenever you fill this bar right here with water, you can use your Ice Spikeweed in order to turn it into ice instead of water, and then you can continue to do your combo again. You could use Ice Increase, but for the purposes of the demonstration, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, that's pretty much what Ice is. There's not really like a perfect flowing combo like there is with Fire, and the AoE isn't really as good as Fire because you don't have a Blazing Orb. All you have is Water Spirit, but it's still significant DPS, and it's very, very good for bursting targets. If you have 2 people using this combo right here on somebody, I mean, that was like 4,000 damage, and that was another like 8,000 damage or so. You know, my gear needs to be repaired, but whatever. That's pretty much all there is to it. The classes in this game aren't very in-depth with their combos. They typically only have 1 or 2 rotations that you should do, and they typically only have like 1 or 2 builds. As you can see from the talent tree, I've spec'd half the things in here. And if you are speccing into Arctic Icicle just like I'm spec'd into Skyfire and Fire, you're not going to be able to use these other perks because they're based off of what your ability was before you spec'd into it. Like this was Icicle Storm before it became Arctic Icicle, but now that I've spec'd into this, it's made it Arctic Icicle. So Icicle Storm bonuses will do nothing for me, right? So that's something to keep in mind. The game's not extremely complex. The combos aren't extremely complex, but your decision making is really what makes or breaks you in PvP and in Arena. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It wasn't a very long one. I didn't want to yap on forever. I just wanted to get to the point. Please make sure you smash that sub button, drop a like, and I'll catch you guys on Global Launch. Peace.